when you hire a fractional CMO, they're really part of your team. So they're more invested in your company, your business, and how to help get more visibility. Hey, Anna, do you think people are listening?
Yeah, why wouldn't they be? We make business so fun.
Don't we? In that case, let's introduce ourselves.
Hey, it's Anna and Selena and the 15-ish minute coffee chat podcast. Talking business doesn't have to be boring. So dive into our coffee chat conversations and learn something new for your small business.
Hello, and welcome to season 15 of the 15-ish minute coffee chat, a conversation providing tips for every entrepreneur and business owner.
So, not every small business needs a full time CMO, but every business needs a solid marketing strategy. In this episode, we break down what a fractional CMO is and why this role can be a game changer for growing businesses. We will chat about fractional CMOs and how they help bridge the marketing strategy gap, bring high level expertise without the full time costs, and offer flexible, scalable support for companies that need more than just execution. So, whether you're scaling up, launching something new, or just ready to get out of the marketing weeds, this is a quick chat for you.
Hi, everyone. Hi, Selena.
I'm excited for today's convo.
Yeah, me too, because first of all, we're starting season 15, which let's just give ourselves a little high five, right? High five, pat on the shoulder. Exactly. That's quite an accomplishment. We've stuck with it.
Yes, and not a lot of people do. So I think that's why it's cool that we continue down the path of interviewing and chatting with as many business owners as we can, and even just the kind of like creation of the show episodes. And I don't know about you, but I know I feel like I learn something new still every time with each guest.
Absolutely, because we brought on guests from so many different it's not just different industries, and they're all expert in their own area in that sense, but it's their take on how they run their business, and I think it just spurs innovation, creativity, the thought process of like, "How am I doing it, and is there a better way?" And that's what the show is all about.
Yes, yes. And I think that's why you and I were like, we need to reset the stage a little bit for ourselves, right? And we're always so great at sharing who our guest is, what they do, how they help, and just little bits of business tidbits here and there. But you and I had said we don't really tell people one of our fun things we love to do, which is one of our things is just being fractional CMOs for businesses that are seeking help. And so for me, that's what's exciting is having that here and the conversation here where we can be very clear on what everything is, why people seek people like us out, and how we can help them. If you are ready, Anna, what is our call to action question for everybody before we dive in?
So our call to action today is what or do you know what a fractional CMO does? And could your business benefit from one? And again, just to reiterate what Selena said, fractional CMO stands for Fractional Chief Marketing Officer. I think you said that. I don't remember. Maybe you
I
didn't.
don't think I did actually. So thank you for following up on that.
Yeah. So, fractional chief marketing officer. And we're going to dig into what exactly that is and what that looks like in terms of how it differs from maybe a regular chief marketing officer and all that kind of good stuff. But yeah, that's our call to action. Drop if you're listening and you have access to your typer thing, keyboard, your keyboard. That's what I was going for.
Yeah.
Drop in there your answer. Have you heard of this term before? And do you think your business could benefit from one?
Yes. And I'm excited. So, real fast, just so everybody is clear, today, me and Anna are interviewing each other. So, we are each other's guests and hosts of today's show. We're going to do a quick coffee cup selfie with each other because why not? I'm excited to know that we're almost going to be hitting 150 selfies of coffee. So, whatever you have, Anna, your Stanley cup. Oh, she has a cup. Okay, awesome. Okay, on three.
I have a white hello cup.
So we're going to just dive in and we're going to try to keep this short. So that way, maybe the drive to the store, you'll be like, oh, okay, I didn't know that what that was and what the purpose is. Shall we start with our first question that is typically asked? And I think we're both going to ask this, but I'm just going to start with Hannah. I'm going to just say, what is a fractional CMO and how is it different from a marketing consultant or agency?
Thank you for asking that question, Selena.
Yeah.
So,
Anytime.
as I mentioned before, fractional CMO stands for Fractional Chief Marketing Officer. And it basically is a part time marketing person who brings executive level strategy and oversight to your business. So, we're not talking about your VA that's running your social media. We're not talking about necessarily the content creator that's dropping blogs or writing articles for you. We're talking about the person that comes in and on the high level strategizes for your organization. So the people who are doing those content creation pieces, there's a reason and a purpose and something that gives it a meaning and intention behind what they're doing and how it's actually helping your business. That's what a fractional CMO is.
Yes. Okay. I want to jump in and answer the part of how is it different from a marketing consultant and agency. So I think when you hire a fractional CMO, they're really part of your team. So they're more invested in your company, your business, and how to help get more visibility. And versus where a marketing consultant, they come in maybe one time, right? And so it's, hey, here's a possible vision. But when you're working with a fractional CMO, they're dedicating part of that hours of their lives to ensuring that everything that they want to implement and help execute for the company in a marketing way is done or talked about. And there's an investment that the CMO has, right? They are like, I'm invested in you and your company and I want this to grow. And you typically would have them for a long time, which is, again, the fractional part comes in because Anna mentioned it's part-time, but it's for a fraction of the cost. You have them, but only for so much time during the year.
Yeah.
But that person's dedicated to your brand.
Yeah. So what I really love about us when not what I really love about fractional CMO work is that you still learn all of the ins and outs of the business, right?
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
so you still know the deeper reasoning, the why we do what we're doing, what it means for the organization, right? Selena used the word invested. That really is true. We're not just popping in for a campaign saying, oh, this might be a good strategy, but we don't know if it'll work for your audience, right? There's always like this onboarding process of like you're bringing a new team member on to your organization where we are asking questions and digging deep and really getting to know who your clients and customers are so that what we do for you makes sense. And the other part I wanted to drop in here with this question too is that timeline of how they interact with your organization, how much time they spend doing this for you is really a negotiation between you and your fractional CMO. There is no one way to do it. It could be one day a week they're spending entirely dedicated to you and your needs, or it might be piecemealed different days throughout the week, with
Yeah.
a one meeting every month. Like it just depends on what it is that's going to work best for the way your organization works. So that's another nice kind of piece to it is that you can really tailor it to what works
Mhm.
best for you.
I love that answer. And hopefully, if you have other questions, throw them in the comments and Anna and I can use them for a future show.
Absolutely.
Okay, let's move on to our second question, my friend.
Selena, I have a question for you. So we've seen just in the recent times, we have seen a lot of small businesses turning towards fractional CMOs. So my question is, why are more small businesses turning to fractional CMOs right now? What, in your opinion, what's the benefit they're getting from this?
Right. I think as small business owners, we all know we wear all the hats, right? But that means you're stretched thin. And when you're stretched thin, you're not putting 100% of effort that is required for each hat. And so I think when small businesses make it to that next financial goal and they're like, okay, I need somebody to be very dedicated and they want more strategy behind what it is that they need to do for their business to market outward. And I think that's why, and they want more dedication. And I want to go back to the first one. There's no shade ever on the marketing consultants or agencies at all, but a fractional CMO is a bigger investment, right? And so I think when you get to this point of bringing somebody on, they're your right? If you go in a trifecta, CEO, CFO, and CMO, right? The three of you are working hard to make everything happen for your business. And they're a bigger integral part of the team versus an
Yeah.
outward contractor that comes in, right? So I think when they're ready to make that investment and that dedication to having somebody else come in and really take away the hat that that the CEO is like doing. And we said this yesterday, you and I, when we were chatting. Marketing is all about visibility and gaining attention, but it's also the first thing to go when there are budget cuts. And when you think about that, it's crazy, right? Because you need the visibility so that you can make the money. But it in any business, and I've been in a lot of industries, that is always the first to go, just because it's sometimes not essential. So I don't know. What your thoughts, Anna?
I think that when I think about small businesses turning into fractional CMOs, what it comes down to me is that there's a realization that they need something a little more. There's a growth time frame in the CEO's head, right? That business owner is saying, I see potential, but I'm not quite sure how to get there. And I think, and when you are wearing all the hats, a lot of times you just don't look good in some of them, and somebody else is
Very
going to look
true.
better. So
Yeah.
whatever this hat looks like might not be the hat that looks good on you. It might not
Mhm.
be your forte. It might not be what you're great at. It
Yeah.
might not be what you want to spend your time on. And that makes it a work of drudgery as opposed to something that's going to really like enhance and benefit your business. And so for me, I think it's just one of those things where small business owners are saying, it's okay to invest in my business in this way and see this growth.
No.
And
Yeah.
it's
No.
and I love what you said too, that you've got that trifecta. So this is not, again, just the hiring of a single person who's throwing out some content for you. This is
Right.
strategy driven. And I
Mhm.
think that's one of the biggest differences is you're creating an overall plan for the company as a whole, as opposed to a single campaign necessarily. You
Right.
can do single campaigns if you want to start it out that way,
Sure.
but it really is we're as a fractional CMO, we're thinking deeper, longer term, and like where those investments are over time going to really impact the growth of your
Yeah.
organization.
Like very big picture.
Very big picture.
Yeah.
Yes.
No. Oh, I love that. Okay. Let's move on to the next question, which kind of is nicely tied together, would you say?
Yeah, I totally would. So, Selena, as we're talking about this right here, tell me what are some signs that a business might be ready for that kind of support?
I know, like, we've had clients, right, where they are in that growth stage and there's more on their plate than they can handle. And so there's a little bit of frazzledness, a little bit of things are being bottlenecked in their attempts to market for themselves, right? Because they're here operationally saying, okay, I have to get this business or product that I have. I have to do the intricacies, but then you have to change your mindset over to fun, pulling people in and marketing and all the things. And so what happens is sometimes you burn out, right? And so you do a half done job over here and then maybe a 75% job over here. And sometimes that's like taking money off the table because you can only do so much. You really truly cannot do all of it. And if you get to a point in your business where you can get in some help, I do encourage you to do it. One of my biggest bosses back in the day in corporate, he had always said to me, Selena, don't save pennies to lose dollars.
Mm.
And yeah, and I do think of that and make that decision for yourself. Will this investment help me move the needle to where I need to go so I can one focus on my CEO, COO kind of like position and let that person worry about all the fun stuff and all the I'm not saying marketing is just fun. It is still a lot of hard work. But
I
we
think
get to do the
marketing's fun. Don't listen to her. It's all fun all the time. No, I'm just kidding.
So what would you say? What are some signs you've noticed that I haven't when we've taken on CMO clients?
I think for me, one of the first things that I notice when we're talking to a potential new client is what is their ultimate goal? If it's literally a task list of to dos and they already have a strategy in their mind, they might not be looking for a fractional CMO, right? They've already created what they think they need. And not saying that we couldn't come in and help build or enhance or even change that in such a way that it would be better for the organization. But if they're stuck with this is what I want done and they have a task list, they're not
Yeah.
looking for a fractional CMO. You're looking for a marketing person that's going to be able to implement your
Yeah.
to-do list.
Yeah.
Really, a fractional CMO is going to be that person that you want to come in and help in conjunction with the CMO, or I'm sorry, with the CEO. And if you have a CFO, right? If you have whoever your big team players are in conjunction with you, sit down and say, where are we trying to get to? And what
Right.
does that look like from a marketing perspective? What is
Yeah.
our budget? What is our timeline? What are our low hanging fruits we can reach? What are the long term initiatives we can put into play? And if
Yeah.
those are the kinds of questions you're asking yourself, that to me is the sign that you might be ready for a fractional CMO style of support. Because if you can't answer those questions on your own, that's when you want to bring in somebody like Anna and Selena, where we can come in and we can help know how to find the answers based on what you've done in the past,
Yeah.
the kinds of things that have worked for you, taking a look at all of those KPIs and analytics that you have that maybe you don't even know how to read.
Yeah. No, 100%. And I know when we have worked with certain clients, they were scratching bare minimum just because they know what they know. And again, that kind of goes with you don't want to leave money on the table, guys, and not realize that there was potential. And this is why specialty of a CMO has experience in those ponds to say, did you know this is an option for us? Did you know I should be contacting this? Stuff like that. So again, yeah, the signs that a business might be ready for that kind of support is the growth in their business. They are bandwidth this to the bandwidth and so many times in the day, and they're just ready. They're ready for more to happen for their business.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, what's up next? What's the next question we're talking about today?
So, our next question is what kind of results can a business expect when they hire a fractional CMO? And I love this question because let's just have some real talk here.
Yes,
People
real
get
talk.
mad at marketers because they feel like they're promised an outcome that doesn't get delivered. You said I would get 50 new
Yeah,
clients this month and I didn't get
yeah,
50 new clients,
yeah,
right? And so we have to start, I think, by addressing that big elephant in the room of what are expectations and what does that truly look like? And if your fractional CMO that you're talking to cannot answer you clearly on those things, they might not be the fractional CMO that you want.
yes. I just want to say this though, right? There are no guarantees on any numbers that you will get on the things that you try, right? It's a hope. So I think anybody that says to you, I will guarantee you 50 lead gens this month with this campaign, I would run because there's no way that anybody can guarantee that you
Or
can get.
those leads are not good leads. There's quality and quantity
Yeah,
efforts and as a fractional CMO, that is something you can expect from us. You can expect an
yeah,
answer where we talk about both quality and
right.
quantity and
Yeah,
what a realistic expectation of that output is. And if
yeah,
you're going from 0 and you're expecting 1,000, we
yeah,
might have to temper expectations. But for business owners that are listening to that and say, this is why I don't spend money on this stuff,
yeah,
I just want you to just take a minute, step back, and think about what I just said in the sense that if we have realistic expectations and play that long game, you will go from 0 to 1,000 at some point
yeah.
because the marketing initiatives that should be implemented are not going to be happening in 3 weeks' time
Mhm.
with the magical results.
Yeah.
And that's one of those expectations, but that's like a drudgery
Oh,
expectation. So let's get into some good ones.
yeah, no, okay. One of the things that we noted for ourselves was that you get a more strategic marketing roadmap, right? Of all the things that your business can look at to increase visibility for yourselves. Again, visibility, right? Our job as marketers is to make sure we're pointing the light on us. So that way the people are like, oh, look, like shiny light, right? Go toward the light and hand them over to the CEO, right? Where the CEO closes the deal and gets everything set and done. And yay, sale, and just a recycle. Would you say that was a true statement, or did I just make that up on the
Absolutely.
spot? Okay.
No, absolutely. I think a clear strategic roadmap is a great expectation for a fractional CMO.
Yeah.
I would also say alignment with
Mm,
what your goals and your mission and your vision and your company are, right? We don't want to be just throwing stuff out there that doesn't really fit with who you are or
yeah.
what your brand voice needs to be. And if
Yeah.
you're unclear on those things, your fractional CMO, that should be like step one. Let's
Yeah.
get clear on what your brand is trying to say, what your
Yeah.
brand wants to be, what your tone and your voice are when we're putting out these campaigns. That should
Yeah.
be like the first thing that you end up doing with them,
Yes.
to make sure that that alignment is happening across all your departments. Whether you're a solopreneur and you are all the departments other than your fractional CMO or not.
And I love it. And the last thing that I'll say to this, right, is you have somebody that's leading that roadmap with a fractional CMO, right? So you might bring in a consultant, makes you this plan, but guess what? You are now the one leading it. So this is a nice relief when you have somebody on your team that can focus on this roadmap and can answer to you on what's working, what's not. And I think that's it's just is realizing they're part of your team and they're there to work out all the things. So yeah, no, I love this. And you're right. I didn't mean to sound negative, but it's just a tip to make sure you all don't, you know what I mean? You should just have some expectations and you should be very clear with your fractional CMO what you think they are. And hopefully your fractional CMO will be very honest and clear with you back and say, just, hey,
Yeah.
these things work and these things are what we focus on.
Yeah. And I just think if they just keep in mind the quality and quantity and make sure to ask about both when they're getting answers,
Yeah.
you'll have a better understanding of what your fractional CMO really is going to do for you.
100.
Okay, so let's talk about Anna and Selena for just a minute. I'm going to throw this next question up here. When we work with clients, what does our structure or engagement look like with them?
It's super
What can our
chaotic,
clients
super
expect from
fun. No, I think you know what? We've always had like a really strong relationship with a lot of our clients, some that continue to work with us as their business also continues to grow. So I think what the biggest thing that I've always heard, and I'll say this first, is really strong communication. Because I think the communication creates the structure and clarity, which we mentioned earlier, right? Of how it is to work with us and how we're going to work for your business. So
Yes.
communication is one of my big things that I would love to bring up first. And I'll have you throw out what you would say is also another asset that we provide when they work with Anna and Selena.
Yeah, so we've already mentioned this one a couple of times in some of the other answers, but one of my favorite parts is that initial discovery phase where I get to research and dive deep into what your company is and what you want to do and why it's important to you. Like really finding that unique selling proposition that you have, really digging down into who your clients and customers are and evaluating where you currently are at. And that type of audit that we do often reveals some holes or some misaligned, like streamed
Yeah.
funnels where there's a break in the funnel and we can identify that during that audit process. That's one
Mhm.
of my favorite parts because it gives us like a starting point to be able to come back. And quite frequently, business owners have not spent the time to do that kind of deep dive
Yeah.
since really when they first started their business and came up with a plan to start with. And so it's often eye opening for them to say, oh, I didn't even realize that
Yeah.
was a missing moment, a missed moment, or a gaping hole in my
Mhm.
funnel.
Yeah.
And so that's one of my favorite parts.
I love that you said that. I will tell you what my old corporate job, and so I don't ever say gaping hole. I call them opportunities,
There you
right?
go.
Yeah. And so I love that you and I get to sit down and like really share opportunities that they have not realized is there for them to take and to try. Because if you don't try, then of course it's a definite no. So you have to be willing to try all the things.
Yeah.
Because business is a little harder in that sense, right? You don't just say, hey, we're open. You turn the sign and everybody shows up and they purchase your stuff, right? Okay, so we said communication and we said opportunities, right? Opportunities research is what Anna does, and she does it really well. And I think also too, it's just that thing, right? Is communication, researching, and then our implementation tactics. I will,
Well, first we said our goal structure, right? Because really
yeah,
what it comes down to is what are you trying to achieve?
yeah,
So we can create the best strategy in the world for you, but if it doesn't give you what you want ultimately, it
yeah,
doesn't make sense to spend time and money on it.
yeah, yep, yep. No,
So it would
agree,
be,
agree.
yeah. So it's creating that strategy, knowing what the strategy goals are, and then creating that strategy plan to put into
Mhm.
place. And then we love to do the implementation, but that's not ever a must with a
Right.
fractional CMO. If you already have a team in place, if you've already got people in place to implement,
Yeah.
then that we
Fantastic.
also have a team, and Selena have a team of people that can do the implementation if that's
Mhm.
something that you wanted added
Yeah.
on to your fractional CMO package,
Yeah.
but it's never a must have.
And I think when I say implementation too, is again, we're helping you lead your team, whoever is implementing. So when we're doing that, we're testing, we're analyzing, and we're restructuring if needed in that implementation part of working with us. So it's never just one and done. And then we just let it roll for the rest of the year. It's really a lot of assessing. It's a big thing. We could go on. We have coffee dates. We would like to go to the movies. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. We no, we've really developed great relationships with a lot of our clients, and we're grateful for them trusting in us and also having us learn even more about our trade. And so each new client presents new learning tools for Anna and I as well. We love
Yeah. Selena loves it when they're like, let's try out this weird tech thing. She's like, yes, I've been wanting to do that. And I'm like, oh, not another one.
yeah. No.
I will say that is a benefit of our duo, right?
Yeah.
We've got strengths that
Yeah.
complement each other. So that is one of the things I do love about sometimes you'll get a fractional CMO that's a great strategizer, but maybe not super techy. And when
Yeah.
you got the duo right here in this little conversation, we get a little bit of both things and we work together very well in that area.
Yeah. So yes. You want Anna and Selena to be part of your team. Well,
Right.
I love it.
There it
Okay.
is.
Let's have our
Okay.
last question. What do you think?
Yeah, we're going to close it out with just letting you know how can a business owner decide if this is the right fit for them. And I'm just going to jump in and I'm just going to say you have to start asking yourself questions like, do I have a marketing strategy in play? Am I ready for growth in my company? Am I overwhelmed and just stagnant right now when it comes to a marketing strategy or growth or that day-to-day effort? If you're saying yes to those kinds of no's or yeses to those questions that I just asked, and it's a good indication that you need help. Now, as always, there's going to be a budget considerations, right? So don't get frustrated with the pricing if it feels too high. There are options for you. And I think part of it is just really talking with finding the right fractional CMO, finding the fractional CMO with the right level of packages that you might need and having them help you come up with that big strategy plan. So that would be what I
Yeah.
would tell a business
No,
owner.
I 100% agree. And I think it's important for you to know this should be something that should be part of your business plan, right? Is how you're going to be marketing your business and who's going to help you do that. And it's never always the first person you bring on your team, but you should always have a consideration of when they're coming on. So have that in your plan when set a goal for that. Hey, within a year, I would like to add a CMO, a fractional CMO to my team so that I can move the needle here, which should match the rest of the goals that you have set for the company. That way, when you set that goal and you check in with yourself as a CEO, you're like, hey, I told myself to reevaluate at this time that I need to consider a CMO or I need
Yeah.
to consider something like that. And I think just to give an alternate answer to Anna is because then you are just setting yourself up. You're now a person setting up that future you that's very busy and you're just in the weeds with all the things. And so it's nice that you have a reminder to check in and say, hey, you know what? Yeah, I said that if I felt this way and this way, it is time to spend the money, find the right people, and help me come out of the weeds and move to the next step. So that's my other answer for somebody that would be a business owner wondering if it's the right fit for them.
Oh my gosh, that was such a good conversation about our favorite thing to do, which is help small businesses and small, medium-sized businesses with their marketing support.
We love it so much, you
Nice.
guys. Like, seriously. Hey, look, we're going to just bring up, just so we can close out our show, let me just bring this fabulous thing up here. It's a toolkit that we want to give to everybody. Everybody should have a business clarity snapshot, right? And so this is just a fractional CMOs quick audit from Anna and I, just to kind of dive a little bit into what you should be thinking about and if your business is aligning in that way, would you say?
Yeah, absolutely. And when we say quick audit, we're talking quick audit. Like you can do this in 4 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Download and just answer the questions and rate yourself with where you're at. You will know when you ask yourself the question, where do I fit in this category, right? And be honest with yourself because this is going to help. Do I need support in this area? And how much support you might need.
100%
Yeah.
true.
It,
So we'll make sure to put this link in our descriptions in the podcast on YouTube. So please feel free to grab it. And again, shoot us any questions or comments that you have about what fractional CMOs should be doing for a business. Anna and I love talking about it. Honestly, we love talking about it. And
yeah.
just follow along with ourself. I'm playing with all the things here, all the
Selena's
buttons.
putting me in the hot seat. I'm going to take the hot seat because we're starting to close down our show now. So this is where Selena likes to put on Oscar music, and I get to tell you where you can find us. So come and find us at annaandselena.com. There you'll find a whole host of all the services that we offer, as well as what we can do for you and your business. We also have the 15-ish minute coffee chat, which you can find on your favorite podcast platform. You'll find us on Instagram, you'll find us on Facebook, and we definitely hang out on LinkedIn in the professional capacity. So drop us a note there and let's see if we can answer some questions for you about marketing right there on LinkedIn. So thank you, Selena, for joining me today.
You, Anna, for joining me today.
And we'll see you all at the next 15-ish minute coffee chat.
Aloha.